Hi there. A little intro about anxiety. It bothers me. I see it everywhere. We are living in an era of uncertainty, which only exaggerates any mental health issues or problems people might have. Um, and hopefully that will pass soon. But even so, anxiety will be around. It's always been around. In fact, we are supposed to have some anxiety because it's a survival measure, I guess, a God given gift so that we become focused on potential dangers and aware of them and don't drift off. So, for example, if I was walking past a house with a low fence and there was quite a vicious looking dog barking, I would expect to have a certain amount of anxiety, which would keep me focused on the dog until I was at a safe distance. Um, so, like that, it works perfectly fine. And if I was on a bike in busy traffic, yep, same like that, a push bike, or a motorbike, I would have a certain amount of anxiety. Although what happens is it becomes excessive. It goes beyond its purpose. It becomes very debilitating, becomes extremely painful. It stops people living life to the full potential or really living life at all. People end up stuck indoors. Um, and extreme form of it is panic attacks, which anyone that's had them will tell you it feels like they're being choked. Now, the word anxiety derives from a Latin word meaning to choke. So, when you can't get your breath and things like that, feel like you can't swallow, it does feel like you're being choked. And you're doing it to yourself, though, really, because you don't want to do it, but it's to do with thinking. And as I said, it's an extreme form of fear. Now, that can come about through, often it's through the home you grew up in, really, and the thinking, and that can go back generations, of ways of thinking. So, for example, if you grew up in a home that focused on negative and lack and worst case scenarios, and the first question to anything that anyone came up with was, or a variant of, what could possibly go wrong, then even if you remove yourself from that home and you've been away a long time, I mean, you're really shaped in childhood, especially in the first 8 years. It's like your brain's getting wired. And this is why a lot of, it takes people quite a long time to kind of rewire it with such as talking therapy or in recovery 12-step groups, stuff like that. The other thing is you may have had a trauma, which, can understandably affect your life and the way you think. And so, for example, if you're in a terrible traffic accident or you witnessed one even, or you lost someone or someone you love and care about was injured badly in one or died in one, you're obviously probably going to have more anxiety around traffic, driving and being in a car or crossing the road, things like that. And that could manifest in that if you lived in a city, for example, or a busy town, you might start to get a bit anxious about going out. So the thing is, most of the things we think about, are worried about, anxious about, won't happen. I mean, I love this phrase, I've lived through many, many hundreds of terrible things, and some of them have actually happened. I always say to people to have a look at last year's newspaper headlines and see how many of them actually came true. I mean, every year, if you read a British newspaper, you're going to have sometime in the autumn saying there's predictions of the worst winter ever for 100 years, and look back and you'll see actually it probably was just an average winter, and you're still there, you survived it, Matt Haig, the author, wrote a book, Notes on a Nervous Planet. It was very good, talking about much about how our modern world wants to create an anxious environment with such as insurance companies, reminding you of worst case scenarios, newspapers as well, which sells them. It seems to be some human nature would rather go for that than happy stories. Someone once said to me, if you're in a restaurant and there was a couple on one side of you sweetly whispering love you messages to each other, or a couple on the other side having a row, you're going to tune into the one having a row. So why that is, I don't know. I know there's people addicted to drama, but I'm not sure about that one. So anxiety, anyway, yeah, it's to do with how we think. There's the biblical phrase that as a man or person thinketh in his or her heart, so they will be. And anxiety is like that, you know. I mean, our thinking is powerful. Our minds are powerful, creative machines. So, for example, if someone is anxious about flying, they could sit in their kitchen, think about flying. They haven't got a flight booked. They're miles away from an airport, but they could think about flying and become so anxious that they start to have a panic attack. So physical symptoms will come about, so, you know, such as sweats, palpitations, that feeling of choking, not being able to breathe. I have some experience of this at the last couple of years, probably before I came into recovery, thankfully many years ago now. I remember having to have a couple of drinks to calm my anxiety, to go and meet school friends, people that I'd known 15, 20 years, but I just felt so anxious about it. And then when I did meet them, I would sit around the table and I didn't have anything to say. Or I did have some things to say, but I was too anxious to say them for fear of being ridiculed or saying the wrong thing or something like that. You know, it's lots to do with self-esteem, self-confidence, and heaps to do with an ego that was seeking external validation, you know. And so I cared too much what people were thinking, really, about that. And, you know, that ego had got into that one channel where it was more, people must love you, and then they must love you some more. And, you know, this can come. Love is a massive thing. I'll talk about that another time. So yeah, there's a start on anxiety. I think a lot of it is shaped by how we think. What a lot of people don't realize is that we have a choice over our thoughts. Now, the lab of neuroimaging at the University of Southern California came up with a figure that the average adult has around 70 to 80,000 thoughts. I think the figure was either 70 or 80,000 thoughts a day. And I worked out that works out at roughly 4,000 thoughts every waking hour. Now that sounds like heaps, but when you think about it, and if you've ever had what we call a washing machine mind, especially if it's on fast spin, you can probably think, yeah, I can believe that. Now, thoughts, I think, are generally, how I see them, are in there's three sections. You have observational facts. So, for example, I'm here and I can see a window. There is a window, okay? You're looking here, you can go, there's David talking. Hopefully you're not thinking an observational fact, there's David talking drivel, but, you know, that's up to you. And then we'll have negative and positive thoughts. Now, they're both there, but again, this comes down to a lot of the house you grew up in. If you grew up in a house that went down the negative neural pathways all the time, they're going to be well worn, and the positive ones are going to be overgrown. A lot of therapy, recovery is about going down the positive ones and getting them to be the one that you automatically go down, that they become well worn. And like any, you know, if you saw two paths and one was overgrown and one was well worn, you'll be more inclined to go for the easier one, you know. So that's a lot of it. So, you know, people will have positive thoughts if they're thinking negatively, anxious thoughts, but they'll kind of be fleeting and just go away. And whereas the negative ones, the worrying ones, the anxious ones will be focused on, and anything we focus on will get bigger, whether it's good or bad. And, you know, our magnifying minds, as they've been called, you know. So, you know, I hear about people saying, I get anxious about being anxious. And, well, yeah, you know, they become very good at focusing on anxious thoughts, and those just breed more anxious thoughts. And then, of course, that creates feelings. The feelings are uncomfortable, are anxious feelings. So then there's more anxious thoughts, thinking, why am I feeling like this? It's a vicious circle, you know. You have to, the solution is really to get aware of your thoughts. First of all, to be aware that you do have a choice over them. You know, they're not reality, most of our thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're a series of choices, and we can choose them. So we have to catch our thoughts if they're negative. It takes practice. It's where, you know, speaking to someone like me can help, where we can remind you of the fact you have a choice, and you can talk about anxiety, for example, and I can say, well, why did you go down that way? You know, how likely is that to happen? Things like that, you know. And to know, I mean, I dearly love everyone not to have so much anxiety, because it really is debilitating. It means you're not able to fulfill your potential. I mean, people say, oh, I'm born this way, I have no other choice. I disagree with that. I think there is a choice over our thoughts. It's you might have to do quite a lot of rewiring and practice. Get in the habit of listening to the good thoughts and focusing on them. I mean, things that I think really help to do that are a gratitude list. Write 10 things down you're grateful for on pen and paper, I think is the most useful way. Write 10 things down. What I found most useful is to do it just before I go to sleep. Write them down on paper. Start each sentence with I'm grateful for. You don't have to write a novel. You can just write 3 or 4 words, such as I'm grateful for my good health, or I'm grateful for my children, and name your children. I'm grateful for my mother, and write her name. I'm grateful for my friends, write their name. You can write I'm grateful for nature, I'm grateful for the beautiful view, I'm grateful for the sunshine, I'm grateful for the rain. You can do little things. I sometimes put things like I'm grateful for my shoelaces. Look, I take them for granted, but if I didn't have any and I was walking around with my shoes flapping around, I would notice it. You can write I'm grateful for hot and cold running water. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. Just have a look. I always say to people, maybe stick to some that you put up. You can always put, if you've got good health, I'm grateful for my good health, and your family, your children, your friends, but you think of some things in the day. Even, I'm grateful for the buses so I can go and see my friend or get to work or something like that. Something that's happened in the day. I'm grateful for puddles to splash in. I'm grateful for the beautiful clouds I saw today. I'm grateful for the sandwich I ate and that someone made that for me. So write them last thing at night, and then first thing in the morning read them. I think meditation is a great way to start the day as well, so you don't go flying into social media or traditional media with negativity there, bombarding you. You can look at social media and create negative, anxious feelings inside yourself straight away, such as, oh, look at so-and-so, they got a brilliant new car, it's much better than mine, or look, they're on a holiday, and you get anxious, oh, I can't afford a holiday at the moment, or I haven't got time for a holiday, or, I can't travel at the moment, So, meditate and meditation, I'll do another video about them, I'm sure, at least one. But, for me, it's like just being in the moment. Giving gratitude can be part of it. Focusing on the view, focusing on my breathing. In a nutshell, really, I try to get to the center of it all, to the calm and stillness that was there right at the beginning, right at the center of it all. There is still calm and stillness. And a lot of people find positive affirmations are very useful. I've used them myself. You stand in front of a mirror, smile at yourself if you want, and say, things like, I'm good enough, I'm going in the right direction, I'm doing well. And all of these things, gratitude list, positive affirmations, meditation, sometimes I think especially in the beginning, you have to fake it to make it. You have to override the negativity, even by doing that, faking it to make it. As long as you're doing it, you are putting a message out, I think, that I'm seeking positive thoughts now. I'm seeking to be a positive person. I'm seeking to get rid of my anxiety. I think it's something along the lines in the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu religious text, where Arjun, who's from memory the main character, is told, it's by the god who's there, Krishna, I think. It's just a doing, really. The outcome doesn't matter. But, that's very powerful, because that will get you doing, and there will be an outcome. And I think when you come to certain things like gratitude lists, there cannot be any other result than a positive one. It's like a spiritual law, if you want. It's a bit like we have physical laws, like if I eat tons of rubbish and don't do any exercise, I'm going to put on weight and feel unhealthy and be unhealthy. And I think there are spiritual laws as well. So if we write a gratitude list, you're going to have a positive effect. You cannot not have one. Same with positive affirmations. Even if you are faking it to make it, I think there will be a positive effect. Anxiety, there's tons more to say. I'll make another video when some other stuff comes to mind. But yeah, I hope that helps. It's an intro there. You do have a choice over your thoughts. I know CBT, cognitive behavioral behavioral therapy is very popular now, and I wish I could say it, but that's perhaps why people call it CBT most of the time. And a lot of that is focusing on negative thoughts and how they can change your feelings and your behaviors. I mean, I think that's very useful on a day-to-day basis. I think you also do have to go back into the past often to learn about, and understand how you were taught to think and focus on things. And, that sometimes I'll finish on this, there's always going to be a negative viewpoint if you want. And I know there was a guy who was helpful to me in my early days of recovery, and who always used to say, and I so related to it, he always used to say, if I won £2 million on the lottery, I'd be peed off because the week before it was 3 million. So there's where I'm saying, you can, if you habit of going down negative thoughts, and something like that, then you could get anxious about winning 2 million on the lottery because you think, I could have won 3 million. Why didn't I do this? And anyway, I'll leave it there. Hope that's helpful. Thanks for listening.